Good evening, you're watching Just the News. I'm Amata Balachandra. Straight up to our top story. According to NCRB data that's been released, Assam has recorded the highest rate of crimes against women in 2021 when compared to the previous year. In fact, this is for the fifth consecutive year that Assam has recorded the highest crime rate against women. Now, the rate is calculated as the number of crimes recorded for every 1 lakh people. According to the data, the rate of crimes against women last year stood at 168.3 in Assam, an increase from 154.3 in 2020. Next on the list were Odisha at 137.8 and followed by Haryana and Rajasthan. In the meantime, crime against women has risen by 15.3% in 2021 from the previous year. Maximum rape cases were reported in Rajasthan, followed by Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh. Now, as many as 50,900 cases of crimes against scheduled castes were registered in 2021. The data also says that deaths by suicide reached an all-time high in 2021 with 7.2% more deaths when compared to 2020. And most of the issues were either domestic related issues or illnesses, and these were the major causes of death by suicide. An update on the Jharkhand case now. The National Commission for Women has urged the Jharkhand police chief to ensure a fair investigation into the death of a class 12 girl who was allegedly set on fire by a man who stalked her. Now, the women's panel has told the police to submit an action taken report within 7 days. There were widespread protests after the incident came to light. Police said that the incident took place in Dumka town on Tuesday when the accused, identified as one Shahrukh Hussain, poured petrol on the woman from outside the window of her room when she was asleep and set her on fire. She succumbed to her injuries later. The state has now said that this particular case will be fast-tracked. In fact, Chief Minister Hemant Soren has announced 10 lakh rupees as monetary compensation for the family of the victim. Moving on now, the Supreme Court today has ordered status quo on the Idgah land in Bengaluru, which means that no Ganesh Chaturthi celebrations will be held at Idgah Maidan. Now, the ground is locked in an ownership tussle between the Karnataka Waqf Board and the Bruhat Bengaluru Mahanagara Palike, the municipal body in Bengaluru. Now, in August, several Hindu groups had demanded permission to celebrate Ganeshotsav in this particular Maidan, where Muslims offer prayers. Now, the Karnataka High Court had given the group the permission to celebrate the festival that will be held on Wednesday. Post that, the Karnataka Waqf Board and Central Muslim Association of Karnataka then had to approach the Supreme Court and challenge this particular order by the High Court. Now, the Supreme Court then said that for 200 years there was no such function organized and the land in question was stated to belong to the Waqf Board. However, it ordered a status quo to be maintained in this particular land. Meanwhile, according to a report by ANI, 13 people were detained on Tuesday, a day after a clash broke out between members of the Hindu and Muslim communities during a Ganpati procession in Gujarat's Vadodara city. Now, no injuries has been reported. In fact, an FIR has been registered under several sections such as Section 143, which is unlawful assembly, 147, rioting, 336 and 295 of the IPC. Also in the news, the Supreme Court has disposed of a batch of 11 pleas which had been pending since 2002-2003, seeking its intervention in the Gujarat riots. Now, the Supreme Court has noted that they had become infructuous now, which means that it's pointless in view of the subsequent developments in the matter. The Supreme Court bench noted, and I quote, "Since all the matters have now become infructuous, the court is of the view that it need not entertain these petitions any longer, disposed of as having become infructuous," end quote. Now, the court further noted that an SIT has already been set up on the orders of the top court after considering these matters and tasked it with the responsibility of conducting the investigations and prosecution in the 9 major trials. Also, the Supreme Court closed a contempt case from 2009 against lawyer Prashant Bhushan and Tehelka magazine founder Tarun Tejpal. Now, the bench has said, and I quote, in view of the explanation or apologies made by the contemners, we don't deem it necessary to continue the matter, end quote. Now, this is what happened in 2009. Prashant Bhushan had alleged in an interview with the Tehelka magazine that 8 of the previous 16 Chief Justices of India were corrupt. Now, the Supreme Court had initiated a contempt case based on this particular statement. In a statement later before the court, Prashant Bhushan claimed that he had used the word corruption in a wider sense to mean a lack of propriety. Bhushan also added that he did not mean only financial corruption or deriving any pecuniary advantage. On to other news coming in now. Moving on to Kerala, officials have issued yellow warning in 13 districts in Kerala, and holiday has been declared for schools in affected areas. Now, IMD has predicted that there will be rainfall, moderate to isolated rainfall in parts of Kerala over the next 3 days. This is also heralded the start of the 10-day Onam festivities in Kerala in Tripunitura. Kerala State Disaster Management Authority has said that 1 or 2 places in the districts of Ernakulam, Adapura and Kottayam will receive heavy rains today. Also, 72-year-old economist Abhijit Sen passed away in Delhi on Monday because of heart attack. He was a member of the Planning Commission from 2004 to 2014. Mr. Sen taught economics at the universities at Oxford and Cambridge in the UK and at Delhi's Jawaharlal Nehru University. Moving on to politics right now, over 60 Congress leaders, including former Jammu and Kashmir Deputy Chief Minister Tara Chand, resigned from the party in support of Ghulam Nabi Azad. Now, if you remember, Mr. Azad had submitted his resignation letter, a pretty long resignation letter, terming the Congress party as comprehensively destroyed. In fact, he ended his 5-decade association with the Congress party on Friday. These leaders who have now followed in Mr. Azad's footsteps have submitted a joint resignation letter to Congress President Sonia Gandhi. Earlier, Mr. Azad had said that he is forming his own party. Moving on now, Delhi Deputy Chief Minister Manish Sisodia has said that the CBI had found nothing in his bank locker in Ghaziabad during its raid in connection with a case pertaining to the AAP government's liquor policy. Now, this comes after a 4-member team of the central agency conducted the raid at the Punjab National Bank branch in Ghaziabad's Vasundhara for nearly 2 hours. Last month, CBI booked Mr. Sisodia and 14 others alleging irregularities in the liquor policy, which came into effect on the 17th of November. This comes after Delhi LG Vinay Kumar Saxena had raised the issue. Moving on to Jharkhand's ongoing political crisis right now, the state's ruling JMM Congress coalition has now moved, according to several reports, its MLAs to neighbouring Congress-ruled Chhattisgarh after alleged poaching attempts by the BJP. This particular report is by NDTV. Chief Minister Soren had told reporters outside Ranchi airport, and I quote, "We are ready to face every situation and we're preparing a strategy to tackle it," end quote. Now, the opposition BJP in the meantime is seeking Chief Minister Hemant Soren's disqualification from the assembly in an office of profit case. BJP has moved a plea alleging that Mr. Soren violated election norms by extending a mining lease to himself. Now, the party called for fresh elections and demanded that the Chief Minister resign on moral grounds. On to business news right now. According to a report by Bloomberg, Gautam Adani has overtaken French billionaire Bernard Arnault to become the world's third richest person. Now, he's the first Asian to be among the 3 richest persons in the world. Mr. Adani's net worth stands at $137.4 billion or over 10.9 lakh crore rupees. Now, Tesla's Elon Musk is the richest man, followed by Jeff Bezos, according to Bloomberg Billionaires Index. Mukesh Ambani of Reliance is at the 11th spot. Also, RIL chairman Mukesh Ambani has said that Jio will start rolling out 5G services for its customers by Diwali this year. Making this announcement, he said, and I quote, "By Diwali 2022, we will launch Jio 5G across multiple key cities, including metro cities of Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, and Kolkata. By December 2023, we will deliver Jio 5G to every town, taluka, and tehsil of India," end quote. On to news coming in from across the world right now, starting off with an update on Pakistan floods. According to a report by DW, amid Pakistan's worst floods, which have already claimed over 1,000 lives, the International Monetary Fund has agreed to release $1.17 billion in assistance. It comes as the United Nations launched an appeal of $160 million to fund emergency aid. In fact, the UN Secretary General said that Pakistan is facing, and I quote, "a monsoon on steroids," end quote. Now, while over 1,000 people or so have been killed since June, this floods has affected over 30 million people. Meanwhile, in Singapore has announced new work visa rules to attract more foreign workers. The new rules include giving a 5-year work pass to foreigners earning a minimum of 30,000 Singapore dollars, which is about 17 lakh rupees per month. We've checked, with a provision to allow their dependents to seek employment. Now, this is a pass which will also allow the holders to work in multiple companies at the same time, and it comes after the country has been facing a shortage of skilled workers due to the pandemic. In fact, the guidelines that have been released also say that exceptional candidates in sports, arts, science, and academia who don't meet the salary criteria can also qualify. The rules will be applicable from January 1st next year. In fact, we'll put up a link of the rules that Singapore has released on this particular story in the description below as well for you in case you want to take a look at it. That brings us to the end of this bulletin. Thank you so much for watching. Good night.